Better to have a short life that is full of what you like doing than a long life spent in a miserable way.
Welcome to Footwork.
All right. Welcome back to Footwork. I'm Sean.
And I'm Dylan. And each week we're bringing stories and tips from around the globe as we dive into our journey abroad.
Outline what it takes to follow our dream and hopefully yours, even if it's not soccer. So Dale V. Gates, where are you at? Looks like you're on some
I wish I was out on
somewhere.
this field. Yeah, so this is the Notre State field with the stands in the back. I wish I was out here, man. Giant waiting game. Basically had to go back and listen to the uncertainty episode again because that's where we are in life right now in Germany.
Indeed.
COVID numbers going down, uncertainty still going up. And yeah, I mean, hopefully there's tentative, people guessing about when we'll restart, if we'll restart. So we shall see at this point.
My opinion, the latest we will start training is March 1st. The numbers are headed in the right direction.
I just hope that we somehow just start playing as soon as possible. However they figure out how to stack the rest of these games. It'll be really fun to play 2 games a week, though.
That would be best case scenario.
Fire. That's best case scenario. I love that.
Yeah, exactly.
Saturday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Sunday, whatever it is.
Whatever it is, make it work.
So I was telling the story to someone yesterday. So for those of you who remember, Sean and I, it was Sean's first. Sean graciously gave it to me. Graciously is an interesting term for this bike, but we had a bike called Triumph. Basically Triumph tried its hardest, but it had a chain problem and thus always came
a lot
off
of problems.
Was just a giant liability. If that chain came off, you were going down a hill, you couldn't brake. We were coming back in the rain one time, and the chain must have fell off like 6 times in pouring rain. But I was telling the story to someone yesterday, and I don't know if we told it on the pod, but it's just so funny that as I got a bike from a secondhand store, finally, like my own bike, you had tried to bring it to a bike store. You remember this? You brought it to a bike store, and this guy, I thought it was so funny. He literally said no, for spare parts. You gave it to him. Do you want this for free? And this guy was like, no, man, get that fucking thing out of my shop.
So, but then let's keep the story going. Then I have 2 bikes at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So I have my bike, my new bike, and I have my old bike. So
Hercules and Triumph.
Hercules is a beast. Still going great. New seat and all. And so I bring Triumph to this center of this little area, part of the city. I mean, there's so much traffic.
Oh, it's a marketplace.
Foot traffic, bike traffic,
a
lot of car traffic. There's just a ton of people walking around, moving.
Yeah, a lot of restaurants, a lot of cafes.
On the main walkway, on a bike rack, unlocked, and it didn't get taken for weeks. I think
no, months.
Was it months? It was a very long time.
We came back 2 months later, and the thing was still there.
Yeah, and it's funny because I feel like it was moved. It wasn't on the same bike rack. So someone took it. So it was like, wait, no, I don't want it.
They were like, nah, that's not gonna happen. That's so funny though. Literally for free, a bike owner didn't want it, and no one in an entire city wanted it.
No.
And meanwhile, here you are, your seat gets taken. You leave a bike overnight once at a train station,
and it gets taken.
God, there's levels.
That's
hilarious though. But what are we talking about today, Shawnee?
So today we're going to piggyback off of the highlight video and CV episode that we released last week, because this goes hand in hand with it, and that is combines, invite-only tryouts, open tryouts, things that are how can I say it?
I mean, I think they're like a rite of passage, honestly. If you are not if you're not coming out and getting offers, we weren't. It's kind of a rite of passage. And in the US, it seems if you have connections, good on you. But this happened. I mean, most people I know have gone to some combine or tryout, invite only or open tryout. So yeah, we're gonna break some down that we've done, ones we've heard about. things you should be looking for when deciding
tips.
prices, tips, all this. I mean, we've done a handful, but there's also a handful we haven't done.
Right.
So we're gonna do what we usually do and pretend that we're experts and just talk our shit today.
Yeah. So,
Sean, before we get into that, I want to know what you're reading. What are you reading right now?
I have it right here. I was reading in my breaks.
Love that. You came prepared.
This is a hint. I'm using a ripped envelope as my bookmark. Oh, you can't.
Oh
see
my
it.
God.
Oh no, you can't see it.
You can't see it. It's all right.
What I'm reading, it's a hint, so I will show it to you during this episode. But it's called Leadership Strategy and
Figure it out.
Tactics, Jocko Willink. It is.
Wait, and I know what you're thinking, probably everyone. Is Sean reading another Jocko book?
That's weird.
Crazy. That's crazy. That's not like him.
It is a phenomenal book. And I actually catch myself rereading what I read because, like, everything that it's mentioned in it is so good that, like, I want to remember everything I read. But then again, when I keep reading new stuff, it's like, oh wow, that's a really good.
That's
point
why.
as well.
That's why I like buying my own books instead of either like getting it lent to me or doing the libraries, because you can take notes.
Yeah.
I like taking notes in some books, or like folding the pages or putting in post-it notes, like, because I mean, it's very easy for information to come in and go out. I don't remember anything I learned in college, so
Me neither.
it's tough. It's very tough, but yeah. I'm excited to switch that book with you, though.
Yeah, this is a good one, and I never signed up for that deal, but
you will. You will.
But yeah, so that will be a coming episode. Stay tuned for that. There's a little preview. But back to the combines, invite-only tryouts.
No, yeah. So anyway, what I'm reading right now. Thanks, Sean. You can't. Can you see him? A little quick look. I'm actually dual reading, trying something where I read two books at the same time. So one is Utopia for Realists. It's a very interesting book. This guy's kind of making the case for UBI, Universal Basic Income, lower working weeks, shorter working weeks, I should say, and open borders. But I haven't gotten to that point yet. So interesting book. I think you'll like it too, Sean. And then this next one, How Soccer Explains the World, which is not coming up on our YouTube green screen. It's an unlikely theory of globalization, and this has been super interesting. It goes into hooliganism in throughout Europe and how it's kind of shaped and came form after World War II. The London clubs, they go into Chelsea a lot. So Chelsea, I guess, had one of the biggest, baddest firms back in like the 60s and 70s, where they would just go to Burnley away and kick the shit out of people. And I mean, unfortunately, it looks like a lot of these hooliganism, like, things started as like fascist groups post World War II that were kind of like right wing.
It's a gang.
Yeah, but they were like, they were gangs, but they were like Hitler, like apologists and shit. So it's like really weird, but it's super interesting, a lot of it. But
I mean, back then, Chelsea fans had nothing to look forward to. So I guess that was as good as it gets.
No, they didn't. And I guess they were such a huge, like, working class club, like one of the working class clubs of London. And then in the 90s, they just became this like cosmopolitan club, and like the city almost turned against like everything.
So they became Chelsea, Roman.
Pretty crazy. Now they're getting into how corrupt like Brazil has been throughout the years. And
all right, we could trade. I'll take it back.
Crazy. This one's nice. I like really recommend this to a couple people.
Where did you find that?
My dad got it for me for Christmas. I guess he read it and he got it for me, and I'm like, Dad, I can't put this shit down right now. It's so good, amazing. Honestly. But yeah, that's what we're reading, people. But let's get back into what this podcast is about. Digress for us, Sean. Start us off.
Yeah. So, like Dylan mentioned, this is kind of a rite of passage, especially for the typical American that like doesn't really have connections or might know someone that's played professional, goes to college, finishes college. You're not scouted at all.
I mean, a lot of the
Especially
times you have no idea like what's
you
next, right?
we
Like you have no idea
we
what to
just
do.
don't know how it works.
No, I
Um,
had no idea. The only thing I knew was like a few teams and like NPSL teams,
right,
and then
right. And
you just don't know.
then you have the combine, which is, for those of you that don't know, a combine is basically, or what it's advertised as, is you pay money. You pay a certain amount of money that can range from $100, $200, 250, 500, and you go and play for a certain number of days at a field where there are scouts from teams, U.S. teams, European teams. I mean, really anywhere in the world, there can be
Yeah, for
scouts from
each one
there.
it depends on who they have. Yeah.
You can find combines for basically any continent. I don't think
Yep.
Antarctica has one, but
Not yet. Penguin FC coming soon.
um, yeah, and then you play well, and the idea is that they will then invite you over. Usually, it can be for a direct contract. This, once again, it depends on the combine. They can offer you a direct contract right there, or they say, okay, come on over. Now we want to give you a trial with the team, which a
Yeah.
trial with the team,
Which probably happens more often, wouldn't you say?
yeah, which means you are just going to train with that team as if you were part of the team. Usually, standard is 1 week, 2 weeks, up to a month. A month is pretty long, and
Go
then
back and
they'll
listen to the
decide.
trials episode for more information. That was a good
Exactly.
one.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's it. So even if you don't know soccer and these combines, you can just see from everything I just said, there's a lot of ifs and a lot of
Oh,
questionable
totally.
things. And unfortunately, as a player, you're not really in a position to like complain or change it because there is very little opportunity otherwise.
Look, you have no power. You have zero
Yeah,
power coming out of
exactly.
this. Like Sean and I, we had a few connections, but zero power.
Yeah,
Absolutely none. I mean,
zero.
you got to think of it, and the U.S. especially is it's resume. It's not necessarily how does this guy play in front of me right now. For some reason, U.S. we don't like to use our eyes very much for like the present. We like to go off of like what it says on this paper. So
Yeah.
where did he play? Well, this guy played at Duke, but he never played. He was hurt. Oh, but let's look at him as opposed to, oh, this kid played at SUNY Oneonta, started for 4 years,
Mm-hmm.
and led his team to Final Fours. Like it's very funny in that regard. Is that we still continue to go off these pieces of paper,
Yeah.
and they laugh at us around the world, but. Some combines still do this. Some teams still do this. A lot don't. A lot of them are changing how kind of we perceive and how we scout. And I think those are some
Yeah.
really good aspects to all of these, I'm sure, even the ones we don't know. But I mean, to start it off, we've talked about some of the ones that we've done in our story. And I mean, we talk about no burning bridges. I don't think any of these guys are listening to this, whoever runs this combine. If they are, I really don't care because InfoSport, which they did it, the last year they did it was 2016. So that's when we were graduating that winter, January. For those of you who know, in the US, there's an MLS combine in January too. And man, this company InfoSport, I don't know how many years they did it for, but they basically send out mass emails to all colleges, college coaches, and your college coach may inform you and stuff. So it's funny. There was actually a handful of SUNYAC guys there besides Pell and I, the goalie, down in Florida. So, you pay a lot to sign up. I can't remember exactly what the sign up fee was, but then there's the flight, there's the hotel, and there's the car rental. So I mean, there was a lot of costs adding up, and you get there, and there's maybe 7 full fields of teams. Like you get assigned to a team, you get a coach, and you train, and then you play 11v11s. And when you think about it, I mean, I don't know exactly what the ratio was, and this is something we'll get into and why ratio is kind of important. And this is, I mean, there was like upwards of maybe 400 players, something like this, 300 players, 400 players, maybe more, 500 players to like 11 coaches, 12 coaches coming in and out. And Sean and I talked about this off air beforehand when we were planning this, is that for this one, these coaches are going for a paycheck because they have the MLS combine right after you. So this mass email combine that they send it out to all the coaches, you're getting tons of D3s, tons of D2s, tons of the smaller D1s. And, I'm going in there thinking I have a real shot. And, kind of naive to it, telling people like I'm going on professional tryouts because
we didn't know any better.
We didn't know any better. And a lot of the time when you're starting out, it's nice to have that attention. So like the clout is kind of nice. Mm-hmm. So, you're just telling people I'm going for these professional tryouts in front of MLS and USL coaches. But little did I know and I bawled, man. I bawled. Ask Pell. If Pell listens to this one, which he listens to like 1 out of every 5. I bawled, made it to, there was an all-star game at the end, mm-hmm. and bawled in that. And I think coming away from it, I heard that one player or 2 players in the entire hundreds and hundreds were asked to go on another trial or no one was signed. Mm-hmm. And it was funny. They said that they were going to give out these player evaluations, and this was part of the sign-up thing. Like what they tempt you is they'll recommend what level you can play at, and they'll give you people to contact. Mm-hmm. Never. If you look on their Instagram right now, there's one guy who comments like on every picture. It was like, about those player evaluations. But
I mean, that have Instagram.
They still have the Instagram. They haven't posted in 278 weeks or whatever it was, but they aren't doing them anymore unless they're doing them under a different name. So be wary of them.
Which is likely. But yeah,
it is likely. It is very likely. So be wary of those ones that they're doing in and around the MLS Combine because, it's a shot, but it's not really a shot.
No.
Maybe I'm a little tight but I mean, everyone who wins,
you have to
feel a little
add up 1 + 1 and realize what's going on, because when you have 500 you have 500 players and you have all of these MLS and USL coaches with that many players, and they're working with you one-on-one, and you could have kids that have never kicked a ball in their life. They played intramural when they were U10, and you could have a top D1 prospect that didn't get in the draft. Like, all right, there's something wrong here. And I went to so right around that time I couldn't go to this. I wanted to go with you guys, but I was student teacher.
I do remember that.
And I wound up going to my cousin lived out in Portland, so I went to Portland Timbers 2. The USL team had an open tryout. So I figured, okay, this was like a month later, but it worked in my break with regular schools. So I said, okay, I'm going to fly out there. I could stay with him. I think it was like $150 sign up. And you played in the Timber Stadium. That was where the tryout was for 3 days. And once again, there's probably 150, 200 players. You are working with the staff. I don't know. They're probably youth coaches.
So it's not the assistant or the head coach.
No, it's not the assistant
no first
or the
team
head
coaches.
coach. No first team coaches. And I don't even think it was the USL coaches either. It was definitely like the youth teams or like PDL coaches. Gotcha. And I thought I did okay. Thought I did pretty well actually. But looking back now,
how was the level?
Like I just said, there's players who cannot play at all.
Okay,
and then there was one player that like he didn't get signed, and because he didn't get signed, I'm convinced like it was never going to sign. Like he was a number 10.
Yeah.
He was unreal, scored so many goals and assists, and they were
nothing else.
Nothing.
See, that's the problem.
So it's like when you see a talent like that, where he for sure could be playing USL, and he was young,
and he doesn't get anything.
I was like, okay. You always think, while you're doing it, oh no, there's just a lot of bad players. They could filter them out. But like the problem is when you have a lot of bad players in an event like this, and they don't group you together with the better players, and you're grouped with bad players, you can't show everything you could do. Because if you know what I'm saying, so
it's what they're comparing it to, because it'll always be
it's tough to see. Oh wow, this player looks great, but he's playing as a kid that has one leg and 2 left feet, and it's like it's like, well, is he that good? And they'll always in their head, it can be like, all right, well, he's good against these players, but if he played with the team, he would never be that good.
There's always that bias of comparison in their heads. That
Right.
exactly. Like, oh yeah, he's showing it against some dweebs and some baseball cleats.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day,
Honestly,
like
there was definitely a few of those.
there's definitely a few. Dude, it is funny. I've been to a combine where there was a kid wearing baseball cleats. I won't say it for the obvious reasons, but there was a kid wearing baseball cleats.
Yeah.
Ah.
So it is what you got. It was my first experience. I realized, okay, I need to be a little smarter with this. It was very cool to train in the Timber Stadium for 3 days.
Yeah. So to take
Cool
some of the positives,
experience.
it'd be a cool experience, and you kind of
Cool
understand tryouts and having how to prepare your body for like a 3-day tryout, because it's much different.
Yeah.
Because usually the first day is a lot of skill work, passing, getting you integrated, and then
Small-sided type
maybe some
stuff.
small-sided. And then the next days, it's usually kind of the same, but ends with a big game. So usually 2 days of 11v11.
Yep.
So, especially if you're not on a team and in football form, those 3-day tryouts are pretty damn wearing. So
Yeah.
I guess one positive from that is knowing how to take care of your body from both of these bad experiences. I'd say if we're gonna good, the bad, the ugly, these are maybe the ugly ones.
These are the worst. These are the ugly.
These are the worst.
Yeah.
But at the same time, some of the positives. I got to go to Florida in January, and yeah, you kind of learn how to prepare your body for a 3-day tryout.
Right.
And knowing what it takes and how to just shut yourself back off when you're back in the hotel and stuff like these.
Exactly.
And we'll get into some more positives that every single combine and tryout can give you. But to talk about a few more, we both did soccer visa. So we did one together. And then I got a contract in Australia, and then came back and I did another one to get seen in front of some other guys. So for us, did we do soccer visa first, or did we do the soccer pass first?
So we did soccer pass first. That was in the summer.
We did soccer pass. Okay, let's do soccer pass first. So that was in the summer.
First week in September.
Down in Virginia. Do you remember how much that cost? Maybe 250, 300?
No, I think it wasn't as much. It was $100 maybe.
It wasn't as much? Really? Maybe you got $100 because you knew the owner.
Yeah. So
I don't think it was $100.
Yeah. So we could talk about this. I knew the guy that he played with my cousin in college. So I think I paid $100. I can't really remember, but it was not more than 200.
I know that it wasn't a very expensive combine.
No.
So I know that it was not very expensive.
It's down in Virginia.
We had 4 of us. So me, you, Pell, and Riv, we all took a nice trip down to Virginia. So, that alone was just super fun.
Yeah. It was very, very hot on
It was
turf.
Super hot.
It was
super
really
hot on turf.
hot.
Super hot.
And very hot. I remember that.
One of the cool things was that what's his name ran one of the sessions. That was, or 2 of the sessions.
Luis.
Yeah, Luis Boamorte. So being run by someone who played for Portugal
Arsenal,
national
West
team and
Ham.
Arsenal is, that alone was very cool. And you could say that alone it's worth the money.
Right.
I think it was another 3-day one. So I thought it was run structurally well. I think the talent wise varied in that one.
Yeah.
A little bit more. So there were some really good players. And then I think, there was a few younger ones, maybe that they were trying to get into maybe some academies or something in Europe. So you were kind of playing against some boys.
Right.
I think it was run well. Yeah. I don't have anything really bad to say about them. I think they're good people and doing it for the right reasons. So I don't know what they're doing now. Are they kind of doing the same thing, soccer pass?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Combines?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I know Fabian trains, has his own teams that he trains. Yeah. And is helping a few players. He's gotten a few players contracts recently, but I'm not sure if he's doing the combines at all.
I think for a lot of these, it's important to know people who've done it or seen people who have done it, and they can vouch for like the owner or the runner. Yeah. So Fabian he's a great guy. So for that alone, he's not doing this to take your money. It's right. But there's
And
costs involved with all of these things.
sure,
These
of
guys
course.
can't do it for free, and this is what you have to
No,
understand.
I mean their time is money, number one. So you're never gonna get something for free. And then second of all, it's like you said, it's best if you can have someone vouch for like, oh no, they did place players here, there, and there. And also know that like it wasn't that they're just putting their name on this player's contract. Like, oh, this player made it here. And
which can be done sometimes too.
Which can be
So
done. So
dig up
do
a
your
little,
homework.
dig it up.
Do some
digging,
digging on the internet, and you can usually find this stuff out.
Yeah, I mean, on their website they'll always have success stories usually, but on, like Sean said, a lot of the times they can be
misleading,
a little misleading or exaggerating really what their process was in it.
Right.
It could be someone who just went to one of their combines and later got signed by someone else, and it could have nothing to do with them.
Right.
I'm not saying to any combine in particular, but yeah, I mean, Soccer Pass, I thought it was a range of talent, but you know, really cool that it was Lucas Boamorte right there in the flesh. I don't think there was any other scouts there at the time, so I think it was like
no, I think it was just solely him.
There. Yeah.
No, it was just Luis, and he was scouting for 2 teams in Portugal. So the thing with Luis was cool is that he was at that time he was Arsenal's scout for Portugal. So he was in charge of Arsenal's scouting in Portugal. So we traveled. We'll get to that, but I went on a short trip with him to Porto to scout a youth team and the men's team, which was very cool. But he was not scouting for Arsenal at this combine. He was just scouting for one of his boyhood clubs, and then like another club in that same league, in the 3rd league. And he was basically
you got to keep these things in mind. Is that like they're not going to be looking for a player for Arsenal at a combine in Virginia. Like,
and just because he works for them, it doesn't mean he could do that either.
Yeah, but they didn't try, and they weren't misleading on this.
No, I don't even know if they mentioned that.
Portugal.
Yeah, maybe we just did.
Maybe we just found that out ourselves.
Yeah, I know going into it was definitely for Portugal, but it was very cool. It worked out for me. I got something for Portugal, but that didn't turn out to be actually great with timing and everything.
Yeah, but still.
But cool experience and
good connection.
The connection with Fabian actually wound up getting me into Mongolia. But then that brings us to soccer visa. So we did this in September, and I found out that they wanted me to go over to Portugal. But then I said it was taking a long time, and the soccer visa combine was at the end of November. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do soccer visa because I know I have the Portugal thing, the trial. I have this Mongolian contract. That's a possibility.
Yeah.
Right. Why not go do this combine with you and Pell, and Riv, I think, was there as well. And
the first one, yeah.
And see what happens. Network, play more, get more training, possible a different contract. You know, I haven't signed anything up until this point, and the Portugal thing was taking a lot longer than I expected. So then we went there, and then you could tell your story about that, which is.
Yeah, I've told it before, but basically I played well, and even though I suffered an injury, they helped me out and got me a contract in Australia without having to go on trial. I think that happens a lot for Australia because it's a long ways to go for trial. A lot of the times they'll go off recommendations and connections, and they had a good connect with a young coach, Ben Brookfield, who we had on talking about, you know, youth soccer. And yeah, it worked out. It worked out for me to go into soccer visa a little bit more. It's another one that they used to do 3-day combines. So Joe Funicella there, it's a very, very, you know, determined entrepreneur kind of guy. And so they've changed. They try and see what works and what sticks. When we were doing these combine sessions, it was a 3-day combine, very similar how we said it. Some short-sided, then it goes into some bigger games. But one of the things I always liked about Soccer Visa was that they marketed it as like, you're going to learn a lot here. So we'll be straight up with you. You know, Joe will come over, and I think he made it a point to go over and talk to every single person. There's a line at the end, and they go and they talk to him, and he says 1 or 2 things, and, you know, he's brutally honest with you sometimes. I've been to 2 of them. The first time, you know, he's like, dude, you're a baller. The second time, he's like, you didn't show me the same shit as last time. So I like that. I like honesty. I like honesty in these combines, and I like information. And I think there's a lot that we learned there in terms of the industry. And one of the big things that we'll talk about is the networking.
Yeah.
This was a point when we were brainstorming, Sean, you came up with this, and one of the like the forgotten things, but one of the biggest things about these combines, is that you meet very like-minded people and very like-minded athletes who are trying to get the same exact thing as you. So like if you don't get the contract with, and a lot of these combines, Sean and I didn't get anything. So, but go into what you said, like what can you do in these combines that can really set you up for later?
Yeah. So this is an important point getting into the professional game in general. And this could even be in the youth or in college as well. Every time you play, whether it's pickup, a real game, the players that you're playing against or with are potential like connections for you for the future.
Every single one.
Okay, so with Soccer Visa, he said that in the beginning, like just because we're not going to get you a contract today or get you with a team, there might be a player here that thinks you're a good player. You get chatting with him, you become friends. He likes the way you play. He goes and signs for a team. They're looking for a player your position. He makes a phone call, and that's it. And now, speaking of this happened in a way. So I went to Portugal with another player from Soccer Pass, and neither of us got signed in Portugal. Then Fabian had to do another combine to get 3 more players for the team in Mongolia. They wanted a center midfielder, another center back to play with me, and a striker. And then that same player came to the combine, and I haven't spoken to him since, but I saw in Portugal, like, this kid's a very good player. And I said to him, like, this, I know what Fabian's looking for. Like, make sure you like play up top. Like, that's where you play. Because he went to Portugal as like a left winger, left back, which he would have fit great there. But like for the Mongolian league, obviously it's a little different. And sure enough, that's what happened. And that was it. So because I already knew him, I already played with him for a week. I've seen him play. Saw him in Virginia once, then saw him in Portugal. I want him on my team. If I'm going to Mongolia, he's a player I want.
Yeah.
Right? And I said before we started, like, dude, this is the deal. This is what he's looking for. He didn't tell the players that's what he's looking for, of course. But when you go to these combines, the scouts have an idea of what they're looking for. They might be the head coach, the assistant coach, and they go on this trip and they're looking for a 6, a holding midfielder. They're looking for a left-footed left back. And unfortunately, if you're a right-footed winger,
they're not really going to look at you no matter how good you play.
It doesn't matter. They can't take you back. That's not what they're there to look for.
100%.
So knowing these things and knowing that players can always be a possible connection, it's a really important thing. And even in Germany here, that's happened many times with me, is that teams, friends of friends, knows a coach. They basically background check me with the player, and then that's it. As long as they confirm what they see in the field, then it's like, okay, we want them. And that's
coaches trust players. And a lot of the times, like Sean said, if they're not looking for you for your position, one of those guys gets signed. A lot of people in these combines get signed when you don't, and it just happens. If you make the connections with them and they see that you're a good player who they just overlooked, a lot of times guys over anything else, like I see it more than anything else, is players will stick out, like they'll stick their necks out for other players, especially if you don't play their position. So what do they have to lose? If they think you're a good player, you come in and you're playing a different position. Sean's a center back. I'm a center mid or a winger or whatever. Like if he thinks I'm good enough to play and make his team better, that's going to make Sean look better. So these players will always do this, always. And nothing has ever come like concrete, but I'm always talking to players that I've either gone to trials with, or I went on a, like a tour with Soccer Visa in Iceland. And, a lot of the guys I could still talk to, say happy birthday to, or talk about their contract. And, a lot of these guys, like I would do for them, would say, look, if you need something, there's this,
Exactly. Yep.
And still, like right now, a lot of guys, I'm, burying that Germany is kind of like still in lockdown. There was a lot of guys that I would love to try and help out here because I
Right.
think they would flourish here. But obviously the timing is terrible, but these are the type of connections that
Yep.
you can make, and the networking is so goddamn key.
Yeah. It's so important. And you never know when you're going to be the person on the end waiting.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
reaching out to people who are playing, being like, "Hey,
Hmm.
you have any idea of a team or a country or a league that you think might have an opportunity?" And
And dude, I mean, you think about it, like if you're going to play abroad and you're with a bunch of foreigners, it can be quite tough if you don't have someone who's from your country who doesn't speak like the language. So
right,
like I would love if, I mean, obviously they spoke the language in Australia, but I would have loved if another one of you guys came out with me. Just like it was nicer in Sweden because
for
I was
sure,
with some Americans, and just like it was much easier to integrate into Germany because I was living and playing with you.
yeah,
Like it's it a lot of the times it makes the person happier off the field and on the field because you can benefit them in tons of different ways.
exactly, exactly, yeah. I mean, so this is so we can from here we can go on how to act at a combine or open tryout, right? Like
Yeah,
the
yes,
entire
yeah.
time, outside the facility, inside the facility, around the facility, in the local area.
Hmm.
This is all a job interview. You don't know who sees you. You don't know who you might go into a supermarket and the scout is there, right? And you're
You
actually
never know. A lot of the times you don't know who the scouts are.
no idea. You have no
Sometimes you
idea.
do just because they're all sitting together, but a lot of the times it's kind of like, where is he? Like, where's Waldo?
Right.
He's in
And
there somewhere.
they're not always gonna wear, oh, they're scouting for Chelsea. They're gonna wear a Chelsea tracksuit. It's not always the
Hmm.
case. They just wear plain clothes. Maybe they don't want you to know because then it's just added pressure. They
Hmm.
just how they can speak to you and you never know and they see how you are. There's
Hmm.
so many reasons that a scout would want to know the type of person you are before they even see you play or after they see you play. If I
Yeah,
know this is a scout, I might speak differently to him. But
for
if I
sure.
think I played well and then some guy comes up to me and starts talking to me, I could be like, I don't want to talk to you.
So
You know?
what's something that you should definitely not be doing when
So
you're at a
turn your
combine?
phone off. You don't need
Turn
to
your
be on your phone.
freaking phone off.
You do not need to be on your phone.
We're gonna
And
say his name again.
unfortunately, we had a player. I mean, this is Pell. I hope you're listening to this. So
I
we're
said 1 out of 5, so we'll see.
we're in Virginia, and Luis Boamorte has like 90 caps for Portuguese national team. Played for Arsenal, played for West Ham, scored a ton of goals in the Premier League, and he's like making two teams for a full field 11v11. And he's like, Vinny in goal, and Vinny is eating a banana, scrolling through nothing on his phone,
Probably Twitter.
and he said it like again, and then Pell did the huh, and he's like, get in goal. And at that point,
With a mouthful of banana.
at that point, you knew,
Huh?
okay, that's he probably just lost any shot he had.
Yeah, whether he did or whether he didn't doesn't matter because after that he had no shot.
If you're acting like this in a combine, what are you gonna be doing when you get actually on the team? The
And
coach
there's
is
people,
literally telling you the teams, and you
yeah,
can't pay attention.
you're on your phone. Yeah, I mean, there's people who showed up late at the Soccer Visa ones, and Joe always says it. And if you follow Soccer Visa, he'll say it in his videos all the time. Is like, if you're not 15 minutes early, you're late.
Of course.
So those people who were not on the field beforehand, getting ready,
Mhm.
showing like the professionalism. A lot of the times it's okay, he's a good player, but is he going to stick it out for a season abroad, you know? Or is he going to be crying back to his mom? Or is he going
Mhm.
to be, pouting? Is he going to assimilate well? They're
Right.
looking at a lot of things in these
Are you
combines.
complaining on the field? Are you
Are
complaining
you
when off the
complaining?
field? Are you
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
complaining, oh, this player, got into the game one, which is supposedly the best players. I'm playing in game two. That's ridiculous. I'm better than this player. Players hear this one, number one, is your network, and then the coaches hear this. And
Hmm.
that's an immediate, if I hear a player doing that, I'm not putting my neck out for them because I know when they get
Yeah,
abroad into a tough situation, what are they going to do? They're probably going to
exactly.
quit.
You
And
want
and
professionals, and
you need
these guys
professionals.
are building a brand, and they need faces that they know are going to be outstanding professionals and outstanding representations of what their
Exactly.
company is trying to produce
Right.
and sell and make money from. These companies need to make money.
This is
A lot of them,
the value of the business. sure, the head guy that runs it, sure, where he's played, his connections, but the value of these combines is the amount of players and who these players and where they're playing. Where have if they don't sign contracts, if there's no players that sign contracts from the combines, then the combine's worth nothing.
Then they get nothing.
But
Yeah,
if you
because
see, wow,
they're
100
only judged up
players,
based on their players. Yeah,
100 players
100%.
in the course of 3 years signed for professional teams, company must know something, right?
Yeah.
This has to be an opportunity,
Yeah.
and that's their value. So they want to put players out. That's how they're going to last, because like InfoSport, at some point people realize, okay, they made money for a few years, but then word gets out, and especially now with social media, you're not going to be able to do that.
Yeah,
You can't do
exactly.
that for a long time.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those where it's one of these things where bad press is not equal, you know, there's no such, what is it? No such thing as bad press. That doesn't equate in these kind of businesses because like you said, you're judged off of how the players proceed after your combines.
Yeah.
If no one's getting picked up, then, you will cease to exist.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of companies kind of come in and kind of go out because for whatever reason. So stay off your phone. Be a professional. I mean, all these things. It's things that we shouldn't have to tell you, but at the end of the day, it's like you have to be mindful of these things because it's not just about how you play in 30 minutes or in a session. Everything.
It's all
They're looking at everything.
It's everything.
All
it's everything together. And I guess we can move on to another company that you did not do at this time. You were in Sweden. Football project.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I did that.
Shouts out to Football project.
I did that after I came back from Mongolia. I knew one of the guys that started the company, Evan, and went to the combine in New York City. Same exact style as all the other combines we've mentioned. 3-day event, pretty much open thing, and pay a small amount of money, maybe $100.
So good deal.
And yeah, same thing. Small sided play, same exact setup as the others. Then afterwards, after the 3 days, Max, one of the main guys, spoke to everyone, gave feedback, immediate feedback.
Okay, so he gave individual one-on-one feedback.
Like I said, waited online, spoke to him after. He said he likes what he saw. Of course, he did know who I was beforehand because of Evan. So he knew
this helps.
When I got there, this always helps. And then they reached out to me a few weeks later, basically said, head over to Germany immediately. And then, met an agent out here, and then he brought me to some teams and signed the contract. And then eventually Dill came here. So through the grapevine, that's how Dylan basically got to Germany as well.
Honestly, yeah, I have to thank Football Project too. I mean, I never went to a combine. I know Evan, met him out here, and he played for Altona, which is in Sean and I's league.
Yep.
And yeah, I never went through them, but I guess I have to be really thankful indirectly because this is, again, it goes back to me knowing a player. Now, Sean is a great connect because we played in college together, and that doesn't always happen. But Sean gets a contract out here from paying money to go to a combine and producing. What did I do? I was doing other things, had a resume, and Sean knew me. That's what I did. I didn't pay exactly I just paid for the flight out here and some rent to stay on a nailed couch. But yeah, thank you to them. I mean, I think a lot of these are examples of guys who want to help some of the underdogs, maybe, kind of find their way in Europe and get professional contracts because, there's just not that much opportunity in the US unless you carry a name, carry some weight, or, know someone. I guess there are many possibilities, but it's also a very good chance that you never even get a look. So specifically, I know, for me, Soccer Visa, I think really does that. Foosball Project does that. Soccer Pass does that. But, at the end of the day, you have to weigh everything because they're a business. They need to make money. So for these reasons, I think we can kind of talk about when you choose one of these companies or anything in this, because there's a ton, but always you kind of want to be mindful of the costs and kind of weigh that against your chance. So InfoSport, high cost, low chance. That was like the end of the spectrum. And then, if you're paying less and it's maybe a little smaller, but they have a good resume. Guys talk about the company well, and they have a good social media standard, and these are things that you have to weigh. If it's free,
right,
really there's nothing to lose. If you have to go really far, I think you should always weigh that too. Like Sean flying across the country to Portland, yeah, you had a place to stay, so weigh that in. So all of these costs, because at the end of the day, you are an entrepreneur, I think, afterwards, and you can make money, like we said in other ones, you can balance it. But that doesn't mean that you should just blindly throw money at each one.
Yeah.
Like, be mindful and be strategic, and think about which ones you think you're going to get seen in, and then weigh those costs and, travel, all of these things.
Right. Yeah. And that's another thing is like, if you can find combines. So I went to another one, AX Soccer Tours. It's a very big one. They do a lot of advertising on social media.
You never told me about this. So where was this?
Yeah. So this is in Florida. This is at the National Training Center in.
Oh, nice. So playing on dope fields.
Not St. Pete's. It's near Tampa. It's around there.
St. Petersburg? Is that
not
place?
St. Petersburg? But that's where I stayed.
Is that in Russia?
So it was a friend. It was a friend. It was a friend of a friend, and I went with him and stayed with his friend at his parents' house. And we did this event for 3 days because he knew the guy running the thing. I don't remember if I paid anything. If I paid, it was like $50 or $100.
Nice.
It was,
so knowing someone going or knowing someone in it is always nice.
Minuscule price compared to what they're charging other people.
Gotcha.
And it was legit. I mean, it was okay. Obviously nice to be in 75 degrees in December, number one, and playing on the perfect grass fields. Like I said, at the National Training Camp Center. So the fields couldn't get better. And there were real coaches there, and people got real contracts from this specific combine. Probably I did not play my best. And at the time I played center back there, and there were better center backs than I. So for me, immediately, I don't think any of them got anything. But if I'm not performing better than my competition, then it is what it is.
Who to blame? Yeah.
But I can't say the combine was a joke because someone got a contract second tier in Norway, and then my friend's younger brother, was given the opportunity to take a contract with FC Midtland, the team in Denmark.
Midgetland.
At Midgetland, as Wags would say, which is a legit team.
Playing Champions League, yeah, 100%.
Play with their under-23 team, but there were some reasons he didn't take it. Still in college and whatnot, but still, very legit opportunity. The coaches were there; these are the actual assistant coaches from these teams. So didn't work out for me, but people have gotten contracts that I know. So take it with a grain of salt. Would I have paid the full price? Absolutely not. But because I paid a very little amount, I only had to pay for a flight, had a free place to stay. It was basically a vacation in December. For me, it just made sense. Why not?
But this is also to say, though, that like, if you do think you have a good chance, sometimes you do have to dish out some money, and sometimes you may have to travel.
Exactly.
So again, it just goes into weighing it. I mean, I followed them for a while on social media and stuff. They have a very big Scandinavian presence. So placing players in Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark. I think I saw like Faroe Islands, some U.S. contracts too. So they do have a good standard. And that's important because teams will take them more seriously if you do well in their combines or if they go see you. One thing I think people can look at is like when a combine. So if a combine says, this team is representing or this team is coming to scout, if they don't mention who is coming, a lot of the times it's like, like who's coming?
Yeah.
Is this some guy that just knows someone on that team?
Right.
I don't know if this is, maybe sometimes they just want to be private, but I always like knowing exactly who is coming. And then I could look, okay, this guy is actually the assistant coach for Midgetland,
Exactly.
And that's something, just another tip.
Sometimes that can mean something, sometimes not, because a lot of what happens too is, let's just say a coach from Midgetland. Let's just say Chelsea FC. Someone
what do you got against midgets?
someone knows them, right? He knows a youth coach.
Mm-hmm.
The person at the combine pays for his flight and stay, room and board to come to
Yeah, they
America.
pay for all of these guys.
So
Yeah.
for these coaches, it's like trip to America, which is awesome, for free. Now, maybe they're going to find a really good player for their team. Maybe they're just taking a free vacation. This is a possibility, and this definitely happens. Sometimes the coaches, they might bring 3 or 4 players back with them, and sometimes they have no interest. If they see someone that's exceptional, oh, this player's going to walk into the starting 11. All right, maybe I'll do something with that. But other than that, they're not interested, and you never know. This is just
That's a good point, that knowing
opportunity.
that the level of what you're trying to get to should be reasonable, and the fact that like a Chelsea scout isn't coming to, these kind of pay tryouts,
To watch a kid with baseball
So,
cleats.
so like it just kind of goes back to, it's important to have a knowledge of where the game is at in Europe and these kind of what the levels are.
Mhm.
So you can definitely go back and listen to some of our episodes, and we'll continue to talk about what we know and these knowledges. But, just knowing that, like, if someone who plays, Juventus isn't coming to this combine, but
Right.
a second division team in Denmark, that's much more attainable. And yeah, he's probably coming,
Right.
because these are some levels that they could be looking for. Okay, this player slipped through the cracks. So it's always, you have to be reasonable when you're looking at these things all the time.
Right.
And AX Soccer, I've seen a lot of success stories on their site. I was looking into what they offer right now. And they still do these combines. So I think it's $500 for a 3-day thing. They also do like some residencies in Spain.
Okay.
And so I'm not sure what goes into that. I know I've seen a lot of these companies kind of come up with where you're living and you're playing, and then scouts are coming in. A lot of companies do different versions of this, some better than others. So it's something to look into, but also remember that, a lot of the times it's not like you're not going into a professional team right away. So it's an opportunity to live, sometimes work, eat. You're living the game and kind of what it feels to be like a professional, but it doesn't necessarily equate that you're going to get everything.
Yep.
So another thing of weighing the cost and all of these things, but there are more combines and more tours. So the difference between a tour and a combine is sometimes tours will take a group of players and they will go travel in Europe or Australia, wherever it may be, and they will play against a few teams. Like you'll join a team, an American team or a Canadian team, that will go and play against a few teams, wherever it may be. I know that PSC does one, AX Soccer does one too. I think they do one. Soccer Visa did one for a little bit. I did one when we would go play Icelandic teams. Guys got contracts from that. I know guys get contracts from PSC all the time. They have a lot of success stories, some a lot bigger ones. They've had some Premier League players, haven't they?
PSC?
Didn't what's his name, who plays for Brighton? Who's the big forward? Played for Brighton. Glenn Murray. I'm pretty sure he went through like PSC.
Really?
I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna look that up. So fact checked us too.
I don't know. I haven't really followed.
That's another one that does a combine. And I'm not sure if you have to do well in the combine to get invited to the tour, or you can sign up for the tour. I think you can just sign up for the tour, and they've played teams in Sweden and stuff. I had a buddy who did a thing there. He said it was really good level. They give you feedback. I don't think he got anything from it, but just another one that's possible for people out there, and weighing the cost, where the combine is it in your area? Are you fit and ready? A lot of the times, don't just go because it's there. Like, you should be ready for these things.
Yeah. So that's 2 things there. You have to be ready. So when you're out of contract too as an amateur, like trying to make it in the game, you have to be ready 365 days a year. We've talked about this in trials, preparation. But secondly, when you go to these combines, you're going to see a lot of familiar faces at every combine.
Yeah.
There will always be a number of players. Oh, I saw you at Soccer Visa. Oh, I saw you at Football Project. Oh, I saw you at AX Soccer Tours. And what happens is these players might then become your network, because it's like, okay, we're in the same boat here. Didn't work out for us
Like-minded
at that
people,
combine. Didn't work out for this. But I know this guy is going to keep going after it, even though he gets told no.
Yeah.
Let me get his number and we'll talk if I get on a team.
Yeah, and you played with them. You played on the 11v11, so you know what he can do, and you like playing with him. Maybe like there's so many factors.
I think if there's something to take from this is that, like, don't just be shy, sit in the corner, and don't talk to anyone because you're focusing on making sure you play well. Like, there's more to get from these combines than just that. Believe it or not.
It's crazy that it's basically a networking event.
It's a networking event where you play soccer. It really is.
I mean, a lot of the times, because I'm sure that obviously the amount of people who come versus the amount of people who get contracts, the former really outweighs the latter.
Oh,
so
I bet
at the
you
end of the day,
it's like a 0.5%.
Oh, it's minuscule because
it's probably less than that.
It couldn't be. It couldn't be so high.
But I bet if you take a large number of those players, if you look a few years down the road, did they ever get a contract? The players that stuck with it, probably. And is it from a connection from the combine? It could be. Whether it's from the people that made money in the combine or just another player there, or it could be a parent or a friend of someone who went there and saw you playing. It's a networking event, like you said, that you play soccer.
That's so grab a drink and get out there with the name tag and start introducing yourself.
Stay off your phone. Talk to people in front of you.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I like Chelsea Football Club. And no, but seriously, I mean, to get into a few more before we kind of go on is another one is Soccer Smart. There's another company that does combines. I think they do a lot of I don't think they do tours, but they place a lot of players. And it's funny enough that I did talk to them when I was out in Sweden, because I was just looking for the next thing. And yeah, we saw like a lot of the guys randomly in a bar in Örebro, which is a city out there. And we just like talked the entire night and about opportunities. It fell through ultimately. But they have some pullout in Australia and Sweden, Gibraltar, which is an interesting one. And Alicante, Spain. They do like an academy in Alicante. I've seen a few players that I've known from other combines like Soccer Visa and stuff go there. Place to play. And I think, you get another one where you can make your way up. A lot of the times, it's about taking a contract where you can work your way up and at least you're playing.
Yeah.
So with a lot of these, like, you may think that you're going to go in getting a contract that's like, super good. But a lot of the times, like, it could just be the only thing you can get, and take it and get your foot in the door.
Get out of the country and
get out of the country. Yeah.
Playing is the most important thing.
Playing is the most important thing. 100%.
Because you cannot get better if you're not playing.
Now, I think combines we've covered a lot. Now, Sean, you did an open tryout, so let's talk briefly about invite only versus open tryouts. I think maybe it's pretty common sense on what the difference is. Invite only is usually a smaller pool of players that maybe they know or players that they have know. So a lot of the times guys who are on the team could be doing you a solid. They do a lot of invite only tryouts in the US, like a ton.
Yeah.
Where they actually have like a lot of people come. So
now, but are you talking about, because I don't have any experience with an invite only for a team. A team does it like an invite only of players that they're looking for. Didn't you do one here in Germany? The red and white team.
It's more trials here. I'm trying to think if I've done an invite only. I know players who've done.
You know what I'm saying? Like when there's actually no players on the team, but the team is hosting it. It's similar to the Portland thing.
I've never seen that in Europe. I've never seen that in Europe. I think this is another thing that's only like in Europe. They always want to see you with the guys if they think you have a chance. So it's only trials really in Europe.
Yeah.
In the US, I know that some USL clubs. I almost went to a Rochester Rhinos one back in the day, but I ended up going to, I think, Soccer Visa Combine instead. But there are invite-only tryouts that you can get into. I don't know how current and if they're rare now or if they're done a lot. I see a lot of open tryouts though. A lot of open tryouts where anyone can sign up. It's another thing like a combine. Sean's was open tryouts for Portland too. So these ones, I see a lot of times, especially with the bigger clubs, the MLS clubs, they'll have these open tryouts. And for me, that's a red flag right away.
Yeah, don't waste your
Just
time.
from experience and talking to guys, again, don't take our word always as Bible, but I mean, these open tryouts, a lot of times they're just money grabs because they will accept anyone. There's no background information needed. Here, where your credit card goes here and your name goes here. Maybe give us a position.
And don't tell us if you play soccer or not. But
yeah, there's no.
Dylan, you made a good point before about like be realistic. Why would an MLS team waste their time on an open tryout when they can go to any of the youth academies in the US and watch a U16, U17 game with all academy players, all national team players? Why would they waste their time going to watch Bobby with his baseball cleats on, who just got back from lacrosse practice?
Bobby baseball cleats is here.
He's got his shin guards taped to his baseball bat. Why do they want to see Pablo Sanchez just finish backyard baseball?
Hey, he's a secret weapon. Don't you talk about Pablo Sanchez like that.
You just have to look at it realistically.
They employ people full time to be scouts, these clubs.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a red flag right there. Like if there's nobody reaching out to see who you are or anything and you can just sign up, to me, it's a little bit of a red flag.
Yeah.
They should be concerned about the level, because if they're not, and Bobby baseball cleats is playing against you, like these are all massive red flags.
Yeah.
Massive.
And you'd be surprised the type of people that will come to these events. Like, honestly, the first time I went to one of these, the Portland one, it reminded me of like, when you watch, this is just a real tangent. You watch American Idol and it's like, this guy's voice is so bad. How did his family say like, man, you have no chance?
Yeah. Who are your friends? And they're telling you that you should go for this.
They played FIFA and they're like, oh, wow, I like playing video games. Let me go play professional soccer. Like, that's what it seems to me, because it's like they've never kicked the ball. Like my 5-year-old self would be better than them.
And it's a shame that these clubs are taking advantage of them, because at the end of the day, it's just paying for I don't know who the money's going to. I don't know, like, do they really need these money from these open tryouts? Who is actually getting, if you're getting a contract from an open tryout, please reach out to us. I think it's quite rare, unless you know someone and the open tryout now is like the same meshed in with invite only tryouts, and you have to, like, if you have to apply, I think it's a little different. We're talking about open tryouts where you go on a freaking contact form, sign up, and there's nothing else to it. To me, that is, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But if like you have to like email a coach and send a resume and then they get back to you, that's different. And that could still be in between an invite only and an open tryout. Like, use your judgment here. Use your common sense in what they're looking for. Because all of this is a dirty business. Go back and listen to Dirty Footy?
Dirty Footy.
That was an early episode. That was way back.
That was back with Who Are We?
Absolutely. To wrap it up here, we can kind of talk about some of the main points from what makes a good combine or a tryout. So I think one of the first things is, what is it providing? Are they giving you feedback? Are they getting you in touch with, real scouts who are there? Are they educating you? There's a multitude of things. Like, what are they providing for you besides?
Do you have a connection with these people?
Do you have a connection? Is a big one.
That's
a big
also one. That's probably one of the biggest is, do you have a connection somewhere along the line? It could be just a friend of a friend that knows the owner, so now he's looking at you a little bit more than he normally would have. There's
a lot of that. I did not have any connection in soccer.
You did not.
So obviously the main thing in all of these is you have to ball.
You have to play well. Yeah.
You have to ball. Another one, again, common sense. Are they providing real and reachable opportunities? Are they telling you that, Arsenal's going to be there? Are they telling you that a 3rd division club in Sweden is going to be there? 4th division club? There's many levels that are very, very good that you would think, it's 4th tier. I mean, 4th tier in Germany is very, very good. A 4th tier team Essen just beat Bayer Leverkusen.
Right.
It didn't make me feel great because we lost 7-0, but it was still dope.
Hey, you only lost 1-0 in your half.
That's what I'm saying, baby. I mean,
And
what else? We got
I think the biggest thing to take away is that this is a networking event. So
networking.
of course you have
Yes.
to play well. Of course you have to be
Mm-hmm.
fit, but
Mm-hmm.
understand that the entire time you're at this event or around the event, you are talking to people, networking, talking to coaches, talking to players, being a nice person. Like no one wants to befriend just a guy who's complaining or bitching about everything, bitching about how terrible this comment is. They lie. They're, why are you
People
here?
will remember that over
Because
you being a good player.
exactly, exactly. And also when you are playing in these games, you have to understand that you have to have a right balance of being very competitive and trying to like push your team to win whatever game it is, and at the same
Mm-hmm.
time not being too hard because you don't know these people.
And another thing to add to that is finding the right balance of showcasing what you can do individually and then showcasing yourself as a team player. Because
Exactly.
it is a tough balance because Sean, my game is not necessarily to beat three guys and score. Like I'm
Yeah.
a link player and I find spaces and triangles and I think my vision.
Right.
So for that, it is important still to show that I can score. So I did that in some combines, but then also like it's tough. You have to find the right balance of both. Don't be the guy that goes there and tries to dribble five players though,
Yeah.
because they see that too.
And that's a red
They're
flag.
watching. It's a
But
red
a lot
flag.
of this just comes with experience. I've been doing tryouts since I was like 10. So
We spend a lot of money
it's
and
kind of all
we
the same
know
thing.
exactly what you have to do and we know exactly which ones we feel like we have a real chance at. So, a lot of the times you're going to spend money on ones and you're going to make mistakes. But I think that's part of it because, people are in worse positions than us financially. So it is tougher, but
Sure.
you can make money. So, sometimes you have to take the risk, be
Yeah.
mindful, but sometimes you can take the risk. Lastly, we have this written here. I think I've only done one, but for those high school listeners that we have, those open college tryouts, I think they probably still do these a lot. They did them a lot when I was going to college, and I did one for UMass Amherst,
Oh, I
which is
did
Division
do
One.
one for this. Yes, I did do this.
And yeah, this I haven't thought about this till we were making notes, and it's another one that felt like now going and hearing about open tryouts and shit, it felt exactly the same. Where they had a few guys that they were looking at and wanted to see how they played and how they were coachable.
Yeah.
And then the rest of us, no matter what you were doing, it was like, so
Exactly.
again, be mindful. If you can talk to the coach before and really get yourself out there, that's a better case scenario.
Right.
Another one, if you can just sign up regularly without talking to anyone in a contact form, it's a red flag. It's a red card, Mike Dean.
Right. Yeah, those open college tryouts, I can remember. I think it was for oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the name.
You
of
want
the
to aim
team.
high too, because
But
you just want to.
it was a few like pretty decent Division I programs, but like you could see there was the people that just signed up, including myself, and then there was a few foreign players that I guess they're looking at firsthand that they probably invited. These people didn't pay. They wanted to see them in firsthand playing, and then I look on the roster and they're on the team. So
I can't remember how much the costs were, but I kind of remember them being quite high.
yeah, because
I don't know. I think my parents paid for
it
me
was room
back
and
then,
board.
so
Yeah, same.
staying in a dorm.
But actually, and it's funny. I did one of those events, and a player there, I wound up meeting him the following. It was like this was probably in the spring of senior year, and he was at Nike the Chance that summer. And he
Small world.
He played with someone I knew from my club team. So it's like
Small world.
even back then, you meet the same people, you might find them somewhere else.
Sean had his name tag on back then too. He just knew.
Yes.
It's a giant marketing event. This entire thing is just a giant, who's
like
who.
we're living in the
meet.
Twilight Zone.
I know, seriously though.
It really is.
It's so entrepreneurial, I think, is when you surround yourself with people who are like-minded and trying to do the same things. It's like we talked about it again, the 5 people you surround yourself with, the people that you look up to, the people that you contact and stuff, all of these things. It comes back full circle because there's a lot of good that players do for you. It's not always agents and scouts and stuff, because they're a little farther removed from it, even if they have been through this process. So players a lot of the time will kind of be those freaking guardian angels that help you get something.
100%.
There's so many reasons and so many times when you can meet people. So don't be on your phone. Don't shy away. You know, you're going to learn, you're going to fail and do some of these combines and these tryouts and stuff. But again, I mean, we've talked about it in the trials. One failure does not mark you. So it's just another opportunity to prove yourself somewhere else.
Yeah. And with that, I mean, how we end the podcast, every episode, this is how your attitude needs to be when you're at these combines.
Mm-hmm.
Keep moving forward, keep learning, make your own path. I mean, that's basically.
Do I need to be here? Okay. All right.
That's basically the attitude you need for all of this. Right?
Yeah, 100% for life. I mean, especially in these combines, because it's a lot of times I was told no, Sean was told no more times than we've been told yes. And most people, I think most people would say the exact same. So just, dust yourself off and keep going. So
sure. Right. So until next time.
Keep moving forward.
Keep learning.
Make your own path.
Peace.
Short life that is full of what you like doing than a long life spent in a miserable way.